Hello everybody, welcome back to another edition of Homemade, and today we are doing another simple, easy, and quick recipe. This recipe I like to call my mock oxtail recipe, and we are going to prepare these the same way that I would prepare my oxtail stew. Now, we're going to go ahead and get started because, of course, we really don't have to do anything to this recipe, you all. It'll take about 3 hours for the turkey necks to get to the consistency and the texture that we want them. But, you all, during those 3 hours, it's not like we're constantly standing over a stove. If you don't have something that can go into the oven, then you can do this same thing on the stove. You would just reduce your heat and you would stir them a little more frequently. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go over our spices. All of my spices, I basically use a tablespoon. One thing that I did not put in here was salt because some of my spices already have the salt mixed in. So I used onion powder. I used 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. I did use 1 tablespoon of our garlic and herb seasoning. I used a half a tablespoon of celery salt, 1/2 tablespoon of my Creole Seasoning. I did use some more Creole Seasoning, and for this one I did use 1 whole tablespoon because it's not as salty. If you want to omit this one, I just like the taste of this one because, again, it's packed with flavor, but it's not really salty. If you omit this one, then you would just use a full tablespoon of your Tony Saturates. In this one, I did use 1 whole tablespoon of Poultry Seasoning, 1 whole tablespoon of curry powder, because they will have a bit of a kick to them. If you don't want them as spicy, cut back on your curry powder and also cut back on your Creole Seasoning. I did use 2 tablespoons of paprika. Now we are going to use 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. We are going to use 3 sliced up carrots, and I just sliced them into regular rings. I sliced up 1 whole bell pepper. I chopped up 2 onions, roughly chopped them up. I chopped up a white onion, and I also chopped up a purple onion. I also chopped up 4 stalks of celery to dust our turkey necks to get that crispy outside that we are going to try to achieve before we put them into the oven. We use 1/4 cup of flour and 1 tablespoon of corn starch. Now in here, I have 3 tablespoons of ketchup. I have 1 tablespoon of liquid smoke, 2 tablespoons of Worstechire sauce, and 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. And if you don't want to use the ketchup, you can use tomato paste. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to put my glove on first. And we are going to season our turkey necks. We will be moving to the stove to finish preparing them. Now, I'm going to use olive oil to coat the bottom of my Dutch oven while it's on top of the stove when I'm looking for the crispiness from my turkey necks. And to do my stew, I'm going to use chicken broth. You don't want to overcrowd your Dutch oven. Remember, you're not looking to cook these through and through. You're only looking to crisp up the outside of the turkey necks. Once it crisps up, you're going to take them out, put them on a plate. We're going to prepare our stew, and then we're going to place them back into the stew and into the oven to remain cooking. So let's go ahead. Now, if you can see, it seems like a lot of seasonings, and it honestly is, but again, it's not salty. It's just really seasoned. Now I'm going to take my flour and cornstarch mixture, and I'm going to just toss them around in there. Okay, so in my Dutch oven, I've already placed my olive oil. So we're going to go ahead and let these crisp up. I'm going to come back, show you how they should look, and we're going to start preparing the stew. I do have my heat on medium heat. I'm going to go ahead and add in my 6 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to use this to saute my onion, celery, and my bell pepper. And right now, again, I do have my heat on medium to high heat. I have increased it, and I'm just going to get these stirred around in there really well. Now that we have those in, I'm going to go ahead and I'm about to add in my chicken broth. We're going to add in our garlic. And you can add your garlic in if you want with the onion, bell pepper, and the celery. Now I will add in my flour that I had left over. We'll add in our carrots. And now we are going to add in our ketchup, Worstechire sauce, our liquid smoke, and our soy sauce to the mixture. You just kind of want to spread that around. That I don't typically put in my stew that I know a lot of people do, especially if you're preparing the Jamaican oxtail stew. A lot of people put beans in theirs. Now, I do put beans in mine, and I just like to make sure I have all of it in there, because remember, that's our seasoning. Now, if you want to put the beans in there, if you were doing raw beans, I would say this is the stage that you would put them in. If you were doing any type of canned beans, then you would put them in closer to them being done, because remember, your beans are already done. We are going to cover this. I am going to put this into my oven that I already have preheated on 350 degrees. I'm going to let it cook for at least an hour. I'm going to come back, kind of give it a good stir, and then I'm going to recover it, let it cook again for another hour. In all, this will take anywhere from 3 to 3.5 hours to get our turkey necks to the consistency. And when I say the consistency, I mean the fall off the bone consistency that we want. So our turkey necks have been cooking for about an hour and a half. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to take the top off of these, and I am going to stir the stew slightly. Look at our stew, and the turkey necks are so soft. This smells so good. Our turkey necks, you all, they are so tender. Look, I'm just using my spoon to pull the meat off the bone. And it's tender, but it is not dry. It is so good. Now, when you try this recipe, because you have to try it, make sure you leave your comments, leave your pictures. Let me know what you liked about the recipe, what you didn't like about the recipe. Leave all of that in the comment section below, because I want to know. If you want to keep seeing our easy homemade recipes, make sure you like, subscribe, and share our channel. You all, I always say it, cooking is as easy or as hard as you make it. But I do promise you, if you just keep it simple, be yourself, life in itself can be so much easier. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.